Hello, welcome to Melissa McCarthy Lover 5000. Hello everyone, welcome to Melissa McCarthy Lover 5000, where I rate a Melissa McCarthy movie from 1 to 5 Melissa McCarthys on the scale of how much Melissa McCarthy is in it, how much does she rock in it, how much does it center our queen. Today I'm in a new place. I am in, Zoe, say your name.
Zoe!
I'm in Zoe's apartment. Location change, location change. Basically, what we're doing is we're watching the Happytime Murders together so then we can have fun friend bonding time and film a school project. Because I'm what?
Awesome.
Multitasking. Woo! Woo! Let's go! Let's watch Happytime Murders! Hello all. It is now another day. Time has changed, as is shown by different clothing. I filmed the summary and review last night with Zoe, and then there was absolutely no audio when I went to edit it today, so now I have to refilm everything. So let's get started with that summary. I'm not upset at all. I'm totally not upset. What are you talking about? I'm totally not upset. Let's get into it. I took notes. Introduction. Set up the world. Puppets are minorities. It is not possible. It is a definite racism metaphor. We are introduced to the private investigator Phil, who is a puppet. -2 points, because Melissa McCarthy is not the main character. We meet him, and then he gets a client named Sandra White. She is a puppet, a Whippet, if you will, a woman puppet. She is introduced with the idea that she's an Ima. What does an Ima might ask? Is an I'm gonna fuck everything around me puppet. That is a literal quote from this movie. Kitty, I really need you to stop. She is threatened, so he investigates. Kitty, I swear to actual God. She has the zoomies. For some reason, part of this investigation includes him going to a porn shop, but a puppet porn shop, so a porn shop, because there's still a P there. And we are introduced to puppet/human BDSM. Also a cow milking sequence. A lot of sex. There's a lot of sex in this movie. We are then introduced to Bubbly, something puppet, rabbit, who used to star in this, if you have the zoomies one more fucking time, so we go. Star in this family 90s human and puppet family comedy called the Happytime Gang. This is important. The Happytime Gang is important. It is called the Happytime Murders for a reason. If you're thinking, wow, I wonder if that means that each member of the Happytime Gang is gonna be slowly killed off, you would be correct. Bingo! You found the plot of this fucking movie. Anyway, we're introduced to Bumbly. He is held at gunpoint and comes. And also comes multicolored Easter eggs. Whole thing. He is then shot. Oddly arousing. I found it.
Freeze punk.
What the?
Please, I have 48 kids.
Bill is there and is technically a witness, but the cops, #ACAB, let him go without questioning him because he used to be a detective. Why? For the plot. Then we finally meet Melissa McCarthy. She is his old partner. She's his old detective partner. And she is a detective. The heat style. She's kind of like an asshole. She's kind of like, wah. But she has it. We'll get to it. I don't like the heat. Sorry, Madod. Sorry, Zoe Gonzalez. I just don't like this idea like the evil cop is like suddenly good. Like, I don't want to see the evil cop. Shoot me. I know they would try. Basically, then Phil, the private investigator main lead puppet, the lead puppet, goes to lunch with this actor who used to be on the Happytime Gang. We find out that that is his brother. And his brother is bleaching his skin. Totally not something that happens to a large group of people who have darker skin tones. Totally not a racism metaphor, right? Anyway, we meet his brother because they're out at lunch, and he's like, hey, this is kind of weird, but I saw Bumbling before he died. And then, yeah, very fun, very dandy. We then follow his brother for a little bit as he like hooks up with this young girl, this young human girl, and she goes to make margaritas, and he is like in the hot tub. And then they stick dogs on him. Totally not something experienced by a large group of people in the 1950s and 60s. Totally not something that's like the freedom movement for like black people in the 50s and 60s. Totally not something associated with that. Totally not, right? They're making the racism metaphor pretty obvious at this point. Anyway, they stick a brother on his dog. Stick a dog on his brother. Anyway, they stick a dog on his brother, and they chew him up while she's making margaritas, and she doesn't see it. She's like, oh my god, stop. Like, it's the whole thing. Anyway, he dies. His brother dies. And Phil is like, finds out, he rushes to the crime scene. And then he rushes to the crime scene, and that's when we have him and Melissa McCarthy fight. And then also the lieutenant is Leslie David Baker, who is like the one bigger dude from the office. So good for him. Get work, queen. But basically, after this, they're like, even though it's technically conflict of interest, again, ACAB, they're going to make Melissa McCarthy and Phil work as associates on this case. Then together, they, which, this is a whole another thing. This is what we find out during this story, that Phil is the first and only and last puppet cop. # it's their world and we live in it. Racism metaphor is pretty obvious at this point. Phil drinks a lot. Maya Rudolph plays his, like, secretary. Goated fucking cast. Jimmy Yang is also a cameo. If you know him, he's a pretty, like, he's an okay comedian, but I just, like, recognize his face. And I was like, oh wow, I wonder who else is here that's, like, a niche comedian that I don't know about. Minus 100 points because Melissa McCarthy is puppetist in this movie. She's like, I get fucking blue. You know, like, that's a lot. So not a big fan of that. And when they meet up at Phil's brother's crime scene, Phil waterboards Melissa McCarthy, so she bites his balls. His paws, if you will. His puppet balls. But I will say Melissa McCarthy's hair makeup at some point, so no point for that, just a note. Also, Phil's backstory. Let's get into that. Phil's backstory. Phil is a top marksman. He missed shooting another puppet. Question mark on missed. Melissa McCarthy, his former partner, detective partner, testifies against him in the court hearing, and then he loses his job. And then there is a code made about how no puppet can be cops, called the Phillips Code. Again, racism metaphor pretty fucking strong at this point. But so anyway, they're kind of teamed up together now at this point, and they're like going to the Happytime gang, the old TV show's office. Are you tearing out my clothes? No, it's just styrofoam. That's a cat. She, for some reason, is like made uncomfortable by the exec's like puppetist comments. Which, mind you, the Happytime gang was a very groundbreaking show for the time because it was one human and all puppet cast. So it was like, whoa, they can coexist. Which again, the racism metaphor is pretty big at this point. But again, I don't understand her character arc. She's introduced as puppetist, but then she becomes in this scene with the executive of the Happytime gang that they're questioning and trying to get information out of. She's like, hey. She's like visibly uncomfortable by what he's saying as puppetist, like and she almost goes out the window, like it's the whole thing. Anyway, I did do a mathematical equation during this. That is, the more Melissa McCarthy, the more better movie it is. So I had time to do math during this movie. Anyway, they do more searching, and they end up at another member of the Happytime gang's house. Lyle played the like coach puppet, the coach puppet. Melissa McCarthy does puppet poke, if you will, and she also beats up a puppet for calling Muppets and women in general bitches, and she fights for women of all kinds and then steals the poke. Lyle, the person that they went to go question and kind of figure out like how he's doing and like what's going on with him, Lyle gets killed in front of Phil, and at this point they're starting to suspect Phil. So he basically they question. And they're kind of like, hey, and he kind of like he's able to get out of it. He's like, oh, detective, trust. Anyway, at the crime scene of Lyle's crime scene, it's another -1 point because an insensitive Apache Comanche comment that Melissa McCarthy said, like, why did they have her say that? They do comment on it and like, hey, that isn't okay for you to make those jokes as a white person, as any person of any color, like if you're not Native American or Apache or Comanche, like that's not like okay. And it's just like, but it's still -1 point. Like I didn't like it. Sandra White, the Muppet, is back at Phil's private investigative office. He's like, oh yeah, shit, I gotta investigate whatever you're doing. Anyway, so he and her fuck. It's this really gratuitous long puppet sex scene. Anyway, the feds show up and they question him, but Phil runs away from the feds because that's a good fucking idea. He jumps out of a window, so he's on his hunt for another member of the Happytime gang, the human named Jenny, who is his lost love, and she is now a stripper. And they have a really deep combo as he walks her to a car, and then boom, she dies in a car explosion. Anyway, while that's happening, Melissa McCarthy searches for another Happytime gang member, and she finds him, she questions him, and he mentions something about, oh, this lady and her wife, and it's like, what? And then I will say, +1 point for there's a few jokes about Melissa McCarthy, you have a dick. And like, she's like, no, I'm not a woman. They're like, it's okay, sweetie, that's okay nowadays. And it's like, Joe, like, weird. Like, hell yeah, but there is like a little bit of like this moment where the Happytime gang member that she's questioning is like, let me suck your dick, and she's like, I don't have one. He goes, oh, you sure? So it's kind of like funny, and it's like nice. I like it. It was nice. Anyway, Phil needs a place to lay low from the feds, so the first place he thinks of is Melissa McCarthy's apartment, which is very messy, and he cleans it up while she's sleeping. She's like, why the fuck would you do that? That's weird. And he's like, I didn't have anything else to do. So, fun. Anyway, their stories intertwine because he needs a place to lay low from the feds. So she hides him. And I made the note that I want Melissa McCarthy to get laid in the scene. Not the scene, this movie. She doesn't, but I want her to. Also, for reference, Joe McHale, the blonde dude from Community, plays one of the feds. And then Jenny is played by Elizabeth Banks. So it's kind of like this like kind of goated cast of like very comedic people that like crazy. Anyway, -1 point. This is going back a little bit. -1 point because when they're in the movie, they repeat a shot. That like it's a technical thing, but like they repeat a shot where Phil is coming, like literally like orgasming. They repeat it like twice, and it's like kind of like why would you repeat that when you could just like continue the shot with another shot? Like everything was just kind of messed up at that point. So -1 point for that. Maya Rudolph as the secretary has a really great scene. She shines. -1 point for that. It should be about Melissa McCarthy. Anyway, we get a flashback while their stories are intertwining. Back to the present. Their stories are intertwining. We get a flashback. Can you not? Hey. Anyway, back to the present. Their stories are intertwining, and we get a flashback during this where we see the incident of why and how Phil loses his job. Basically, Melissa McCarthy is being held at gunpoint with a gun to her head by a puppet. Phil takes the shot because he's an expert shotsman, he's an expert marksman, but the puppet moves while he like takes a shot, so he misses, but accidentally kills a civilian who is with his daughter with purple hair nearby. Eek, not fun. So that's kind of Melissa McCarthy ends up getting shot, and their relationship sours, and it's kind of this like whole thing, and she almost dies, and it's like this really interesting flashback that turns into a dream. It's actually really well done. I'm not gonna add a point for that because Melissa McCarthy is the main character in this flashback. So anyway, so the Happytime gang member they find out on the phone at Melissa McCarthy's apartment that he is dead, and they think Phil did it. She continues to hide him, and is like, haven't seen him, but together they decide to go see the incest puppets from the Happytime gang. They are cousins and they're married, and they see their children, they're incest babies, and they're nasty fucking creatures. But the incest puppets run a barbecue and worship center called Adam's Rib. Funny fucking fun. Good wordplay there. Anyway, they find him dead, but the murderer is behind a door. The murderer is just behind the door, but the murderer gets away, but the feds see Phil and Melissa McCarthy there, and they end up arresting them. They arrest Phil, they don't arrest Melissa McCarthy. Why? Who knows? Anyway, Bubbles, Maya Rudolph's character, shows up to beg Melissa McCarthy to help save Phil. Anyway, they do research on the Muppet, Sandra White, and find out she didn't exist until 2 years ago. There are no records of her until 2 years ago, so what the fuck's going on with that? Anyway, he's getting beat up in prison, whatever, beside the point. Once Phil's arrested, Melissa McCarthy, it's mostly a Melissa McCarthy movie, so +1 point for that, and +1 point for Maya Rudolph and Melissa McCarthy scenes together because they complement each other really well, so they go well. Anyway, Melissa McCarthy and Maya Rudolph do a little more research and they find the apartment of Sandra White. Are you going to join me? They find the apartment of Sandra White. Anyway, it turns out she has planned the killing of every single Happytime gang member, including Phil, because Phil killed her daddy. Because Sandra, we find this out very interestingly, Sandra has purple pubes. Okay, Sandra has purple pubes, but her hair is red. And you know whose hair was purple? It's a very rare color for puppets. You know whose hair is purple? The daughter of the civilian who was killed by Phil. Ooh la la. She is the Happytime murderer. Oh my goodness. So Melissa McCarthy then visits Phil. She shoots him in the arm while visiting him, and she's like, "Oh no, he got shot. Oh no!" And they are in the ambulance, and then they steal the ambulance to go to the airport to go catch Sandra White, the Muppet, because she's about to escape on a plane to Rio. #Bluebirds coming back to living in captivity, right? Very fun, very dandy. Okay, cut off. But my camera died. So anyway, they're in the ambulance. They stole about to raid this airport together. Phil and Melissa McCarthy. And then Phil handcuffs Melissa to the ambulance, and he's like, "I don't want you to get hurt or be in the line of fire again. So I'm gonna go save the day." Oh yes. Anyway, turns out Jenny, his long lost love who died in the car explosion, isn't dead, and is the wife why that one motherfucker said wife earlier, of Sandra, and they orchestrated the whole thing because Sandra wants revenge for her father's death. But as she monologues about, she realized she's just like really good at killing and just gets a kick out of it. So Jenny kind of is like, oh, that's weird, but beside the point. Jenny was seduced by Sandra for the plot of it, but also because Jenny was a jilted lover of Phil's. Anyway, cut to the end. Minus 1 point because Melissa McCarthy does not save the day. Phil does. It's good narratively because Phil saves the day with the same shot that he missed last time. Like Melissa McCarthy has a gun to her head, and Phil like takes a shot and like shoots the puppet, and it's like a whole like, oh, it's all full circle. But I just want Melissa McCarthy to always be the center of attention. Anyway, Maya Rudolph and Phil get back together, and they weren't back together. They get together. Yeah, stop hitting my foot, girl. The fuck. My cat is biting me. Puppets can now be cops again after this because the Phillips Code gets repealed, and everything is happily ever after. And that is a summary of Happytime Murders.
There's Muppet porn? I mean, puppet porn?
I love her.
This movie's so good. But I don't think it's centers Melissa McCarthy.
Yeah,
Where's Melissa McCarthy?
Yeah.
If Melissa McCarthy is not introduced in the next 5 minutes, we're stopping the movie.
Yeah.
Okay. My review of the Happytime Murders. This gets a 1 Melissa McCarthy out of the 1 to 5 Melissa McCarthy scale. It just doesn't center Melissa McCarthy. It's the reason I don't like The Heat as much as like other people do, because it doesn't center Melissa McCarthy as much as I really think it should. It is a good movie. Like, it's not like a bad movie in any capacity. I think it's a little over sexual and like it's a little like much at times. But it's also directed by the same dude who did Muppets Christmas Carol, and he's like, what if I got freaky with it? And it's like, a little too freaky with it there, bud. So I think it's just fun. I think it's a fun, good movie. I just think it could have centered Melissa McCarthy more. So that's why it gets a 1 Melissa McCarthy out of 5.
This is a crazy ass movie.
In multiple places?
Oh, and there's piss too. Piss is so great. Why isn't there piss too? I've always said that.
Okay. Thank you guys for watching. This has been a really exhausting process to do. I am very thankful that everyone liked the last one and thinks this is an interesting concept. I'm tired as shit, so I'm going to end the video here, but hope you have a wonderful evening, day, night, whatever time you're watching this, whenever you're watching this, wherever you're watching this, and have a wonderful rest of your time on this app before you go to another one, before you go actually do your homework, because I know you're procrastinating it. I know you're procrastinating it.